I wanted to highlight one super important thing that seems to be confusing a lot of people when it comes to Google Analytics. And that is that there are two different versions of Google Analytics. We have number one, the Universal Analytics, often referred to as GA3, GA standing for Google Analytics. And then we have the second version, which is a newer version, referred to as Google Analytics 4, or frequently known as GA4. Now, to confirm, Google Analytics 4 is not an upgrade to Universal Analytics. It's a completely different new version of Google Analytics, which works on different models of collecting data, and as a result, comes with a different set of reports. To give you an idea of what they both look like, you can see my lovely comparison right here. Apologies if it is a little bit too small and you can't exactly read what it says on the screenshot. I did try my best to get both of them fitted in onto one actual PowerPoint slide, but essentially at the top we have Universal Analytics, or GA3, and you can see it says reports on the left hand side. We've got real-time, audience, acquisition, behavior, conversions, and for Google Analytics 4, or GA4, you can see it says lifecycle instead of reports, and then under lifecycle you have acquisition, engagement, monetization, retention, then you've got user, then under user you have demographics, tech, and then under user you have another option for events, which under events become conversions and events again. So there are quite a few differences between Google Analytics 3 and Google Analytics 4. However, from the front end, when you look at it visually, it's not too dissimilar. The main difference comes in the back end as to how they actually collect data. So let me go through both of them so you get a good understanding of exactly how they both work. So this is the main difference between Google Analytics 3 and Google Analytics 4. So first up, Google Analytics 3, or Universal Analytics. This uses the measurement model, which is based on sessions and page views to track all of its data. As Google Analytics 3 uses a session-based model, the analytics collects and stores information, such as page views, events, and transactions, all as hits. Which is why in the past, you might have heard loads of people say, how many hits did your website get? Or my website got 500 hits. This is all because they're all using Google Analytics 3. The new version, Google Analytics 4, it works in a completely different way. Google Analytics 4 uses a model which is based on events and parameters. For example, in Google Analytics 4, even a page view is considered as an event. Essentially, Google Analytics 4 uses an event-based model to track all of its data, whereas Google Analytics 3 uses a session-based model to track its data. And as a result, the reports within each version are going to be different. So you might be wondering, well, why am I telling you all of this information? Well, it's all with good reason, which is any Google Analytics account that was made after October 2020, which is when Google Analytics 4 came out, will automatically be created on the newer Google Analytics 4 version. If you made a Google Analytics account before that, maybe you already had a website with Google Analytics on it for the last few years, then you will be using the older version, which is Universal Analytics, or Google Analytics 3. If that is you, then I do not recommend that you completely disabandon it and use Google Analytics going forward, as Google Analytics 4 is still not a finished product and is missing a lot of key features that you're going to need. In fact, Google even state this themselves on the marketing platform blog. You can see it says, we know there are capabilities many marketers need before fully replacing the existing analytics setup. So we encourage you to create a new Google Analytics 4 property alongside your existing properties. And that's exactly what I recommend you do. Which, to confirm, is to set up a Google Analytics 4 property and let it run alongside the Universal Analytics. And then once Google has fully updated Google Analytics 4, you can then start to review the data and reports in that version instead. However, no one actually knows when Google is going to finish updating Google Analytics 4. It seems to be going on forever. However, instead of using a product which isn't 100% finished, you're far better off using one that has been around for a while and works like a charm. What's good to know is that when Google does update Google Analytics 4 to include all the features we need as marketers, I will be updating this course to reflect all those changes. However, long story short, for now, don't worry about Google Analytics 4. The same applies to anyone who created a Google Analytics account after October 2020. I also recommend that you set up a Universal Analytics property and simply track the data in both versions. I just wanted to make this video here to make things super clear from the start, as like like I said, a lot of people tend to get confused over GA3 and GA4. So that is it for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.